I've talked a lot about the complexities of Scripture and the difficulties that we sometimes have thinking about it. But what can we say about the Bible positively? I mean, even defining what the Bible is can be difficult. A working definition is that a Bible is the collection of historical writings that a group of Christians consider to be authoritative and inspired by God. Originally written in Hebrew, Greek, and some Aramaic, there can be between 66 and around 80 books in a Bible, depending on what branch of Christianity we're talking about. However, no matter how many books are in it, they all have to have been written within the first century or so of the current era in order to be considered part of the Bible and not part of another holy writ like the Book of Mormon, for instance. Also, a group of believers has to accept and use those texts together. One individual Christian can't add books to the Bible, nor can modern works, no matter how good, make it into Scripture either. The canon of Scripture is closed, even if we don't all agree on what that canon is. In practice, though, the primary issue facing the canon of the Bible is not adding new works to it, but removing them. While most American Protestants have the traditional 66 books in their Bible, in reality, many of those books are unread, creating a much smaller canon in practice of what books are actually read, used, and treated as inspired. Many Christians walk around today with a canon of Scripture that's really only 6 to maybe 12 books long. You've got Genesis and Exodus, you've got the Gospels, maybe Acts, Romans, couple of Paul's letter, Psalms. That's about it. This is a shame, because one of the things that we can say definitively about Scripture is that it is helpful. All of it. That was, in fact, one of the primary ways of determining what books made it into Scripture in the first place. For 1,000 years, people recorded their experiences and their encounters with God. They wrote about their mountaintop experiences and the times where they felt abandoned. They wrote about their successes and their failures and disappointments in trying to meet God. And they wrote all of this down to try and help others see where God was moving as well. The books that were helpful made it in. The books that people didn't find so helpful just faded away. And there's been no time where the Bible has been lost to history, where it has been found to be unhelpful and abandoned. Many other ancient works, including other religious texts, disappear for a time and then show back up into history for a moment as they become relevant for a few years to a century or two and then disappear again. The Bible, on the other hand, has continued to be read, to be used, to be found meaningful in people's search for God in every culture, in every time period. The Bible is helpful. Another thing we can say is that the Bible is trustworthy. Because it was never lost, we don't need a Rosetta Stone to unlock its secrets. We know what it says. Not only that, but the number, the age, the quality of ancient manuscripts of the Bible that we have, especially that of the New Testament, dwarfs any other ancient writing in the world. Yes, there are minor differences between the manuscripts that we can't sort out. Yes, there are a few words that we aren't sure what the meaning is. But the text of the Bible is amazingly reliable. It is trustworthy, and only getting more so as we continue to study it. But trustworthy is not the same thing as perfect. There are issues and disagreements with the underlying text that no scholar is able to solve. This is compounded because most of us read the Bible in a translation, and a translation can alter the mood, the feeling, the style, the movement, and even the meaning itself of the original text. This is why it is important that we do not mistake a translation for the Bible. A translation does not have the original's promise of accuracy, helpfulness, or inspiration, though I do think that the best translations do very well at all three of those things. This can trip some Christians up because they use one translation as their inspired, perfect Bible, instead of using a variety of translations, each as a different window into being able to see the original meaning and intention of the Scripture. The major thing that trips American evangelicals up, however, is that the Bible was written by God's people, not by God directly. Whatever form inspiration took, it clearly did not remove the personality and individual thoughts and experiences of the authors. Each author has their own favorite topics, their favorite words, their favorite phrases, their individual vocabulary and writing style that shines through in the original. Reading the original Hebrew, or especially the original Greek, it is clear as day that one voice did not write all of Scripture. It's really easy to miss that today, though, because usually one voice did write our translation of Scripture, even if that one voice was a committee. Each book of the Bible was also written for its specific historical and cultural context, transmitting the message that God had to say to that situation. Each author wrote for a specific time in a specific place as they were inspired to do so. But that means that the Bible was not originally meant for today. It is applicable today, but we are not the original audience. This really bothers some people, but to me, it is a good portion of the beauty and the power of Scripture. The Bible was written by people in the heights of joy for God intervening in their lives and in the depths of despair because of the silence of God in their lives. It was written when God's people were winning and when they were being carted off as slaves. There is sexism in the Bible and people struggling with the effects of sexism. The Bible isn't just predictions and rules and theory about how God might interact with us, but it is the real examples of people in almost every imaginable situation, in every context, stretching for hundreds of years. Almost every step of our walk with God that we can imagine can be found within the pages of Scripture. Someone else has experienced it. That gives a depth and a groundedness to the Bible that I love. It is rooted in history. It is rooted in real encounters and real people, real joy and real pain. And I appreciate that far more than if the Bible was just an answer key written for us today. But that same real personality and real history also means that there are real disagreements within Scripture. Authors often have different takes on the same subject in the Bible, sometimes even directly contradicting each other. The Bible is not an answer book. It is a conversation, as all of these different authors discuss their unique take on where they see God and what that means. We can make the mistake of trying to reduce that rich and vibrant conversation down into just a really simple and concise answer. And in doing so, we ignore powerful questions for simple answers. When instead we are meant to join that conversation with our unique questions, with our unique experiences, and our unique context. And I know that for some people, this whole conversation seems arcane, even pointless. But how we understand the Bible matters. Because if we approach the Bible with a poor understanding, then we will be disappointed and possibly broken when the Bible cannot meet those false expectations. When we misunderstand Scripture, we can easily twist it to say what we want it to without even meaning to do that. And we can end up exchanging the richness of its conversation and history for a few catchy verses that we really hope will be true for us someday. How we approach the Bible also shapes how we see our own role in God's plan and in history. Is God still at work today, inspiring, conversing, and guiding? Or was it only back then with those people and not with us today? Does God expect growth beyond some biblical positions today? Or is every statement in the Bible a once and for all position? How we think about the Bible changes how we think about the way God acts, what God expects from us, and how we can find God's will for us. And while we won't always agree on the answers to those questions, we can at least think carefully and well about them. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you next video.